Welcome, everybody, to the Spread the Space podcast, a platform built by the community for the community. I am super duper excited to be here today. This is actually the very first time ever we are launching this podcast. So, yes, you got it. This is the pilot episode, guys. Episode 1, Spread the Space podcast, launching this month in honor of Women's History Month. What better time to launch a podcast led and hosted by a panel of women who operate an organization than to do it on Women's History Month. So we're here today with China and Rodessa, your hosts and the founders of the Spread Your Heart organization, the organizers of the Spread the Space program. And we're here today, like I said, to talk about Women's History Month, to dive into some conversation and get down to the nitty gritty. We're going to get a little bit vulnerable today. So we are excited to announce the launch of this podcast and have, of course, like I said, the 3 most powerful, influential women within the entire organization to kick off the show. So, Rodessa, I would like to introduce you, and then we'll go ahead and introduce our guests for the very first episode. So, you want to say hi to the audience, Rodessa?
Hello, how is everybody? China, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing great. Well, hi guys. I don't know. I guess I can give like a fun fact. My favorite color is green, and I know it's really random, but as you hear the podcast, you guys will definitely get to know a little more about us, okay?
For sure. Yes. Thank you. And if you guys are not familiar with Spread Your Heart, quick backstory, really quick. Rodessa and I started Spread Your Heart back in 2013 when I was a junior in high school. She was a senior. And it kind of grew with us as we grew, the organization grew. So we're very honored to be here today to present this project that we've been working on. And we really hope you like it. And with that being said, we are also here with a very special guest, another powerful woman in the Spread Your Heart organization, who is also our graphic design specialist, social media manager, mompreneur, solopreneur. Like, she has it all, and I'm super excited that she is here with us today to help advocate for the podcast. So, Krista, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. First off, I want to thank you guys for having me on. I'm super excited. Pilot episode, and it should be pretty hot topic. So I'm excited to get to talking and open up a little bit.
Yes, perfect. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. And like I said, if you're not familiar with Spread Your Heart, then you're really in for a treat, because Spread Your Heart is up and coming. We're a growing movement that you're going to want to be a part of. We're originally from Southern California, and we really focus on providing comprehensive outreach services that humanize the homeless, rehabilitate the environment, and empower creators around the nation. So I know that's a bit all over the place. It is a lot, but it really all just comes together to say we advocate for mental health and individuality. And us beautiful panel of women are going to be the ones to help you really grasp the concept of our vision, the growth, and the dedication behind our movement. So yes. So kind of let's just get into it. Let's just jump right into the topic. Let's start out by talking about mental health. It's only right. It's a part of our mission. And there's a lot going on. There's so much going on in the world. So we got to stop and take a breather sometimes. So for the audience that does not know, one of Spread Your Heart's programs all of Spread Your Heart's programs are built to empower our neighbors through individuality and mental health. So as leaders and innovators, women often are kind of outdated. We're held to a lot of misogynistic standards, and in corporate America and in nonprofit industries, especially, and other industries in the economy, it's very male dominated. Even though we have broken a lot of barriers as women, even though we have come a long way in society to make our mark and fight for our rights, there's still so much more we can do, right? There's so much that we need to really break down. So, do you guys, my panel, let's start off the conversation with this. Do you think women are conditioned to compete with each other instead of collaborate? What do you guys think?
I think so. I wish it was the other way around. I wish we could be more collaborative. You have, your groups of people who do really, really well at it. But, for the majority, I feel like because we couldn't do things for a very, very long time, and it's still very recent that we can, own our own businesses and work and do all of these things. It's almost like this internal thing of we have something to prove, and every other woman is our competition. It's sad. I wish it wasn't like that, but for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I kind of think the men get a kick out of watching us compete. I really do. I feel like the men is they like to watch like this cat fight going on or something. They egg it on. They kind of instigate on the sidelines, and the whole time women are kind of trampling over each other when we really need to be coming together, right? Ro, what do you think on this topic?
So, although I think that a lot of women are conditioned to compete with each other, I think that now, as like modern society keeps going, I feel like there are those like basically it's set into two different compartments more so now, as where you either going to raise households are going to raise their daughters to either compete or not compete like how they were doing. But I feel like more mothers nowadays, especially those single moms, and just a personal opinion of mine, I feel like they're going to start slowly seeing that women should be girls or women's, and they're going to eventually start putting that mindset to action because they see that that is a healthier mindset, and that it might actually help the modern world as women start to collaborate together. Because if you notice like certain projects and stuff like that, you'll see that there are two women who aren't competing, but they're definitely working together. That project is like probably 9 times out of 10 going to be better than the project where they were competing on each other, just because women are really smart and innovative. And so when they have that mind and that power to work together, but also use their thinking tools, their intellectual tools, I feel like just in general, it's going to make whatever they're working on, whether it's a project, whether it's life, whether it's personal, it's going to make it 10 times better.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I like what you said about just kind of the example of a girl's girl. We see that a lot over social media lately. It's kind of been a trending topic on whether or not you are a girl's girl or what is an indication of a girl's girl. And there's two sides of that coin. There's a big community on social media that are advocating more girls type of groups, but then there's the other half of the internet that's like, forget being a girl's girl. This is like, I'm advocating for myself. I love who loves me. I support who supports me. So it's kind of a weird concept, like a slippery slope. But what is something society praises women for, but is actually exhausting? Like, you're like, why are we still talking about this? Why is this a thing held against women? What do you guys think? Go ahead.
Probably having multiple kids. And I only have one, but that's something that I still see commonly. Let's have more kids. Like the more kids you have, the better. The bigger households that you have, the better. Um, Women just keep pushing. And it's like, but realistically, even just having one is exhausting.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. And it's like we're supposed to have these. You want us to have these kids, and are you gonna push them out and take care of them? I feel like we should be able to have that choice. And I think, it shouldn't be like, oh, I'm taken aback because that's what you choose. If that's what you choose, that's what you choose. And if you want to have a lot of kids or you don't want to have many kids, I feel like that is the power and the beauty of being a woman and owning our bodies and our wombs, right? What do you think, Krista?
I agree with being a mom of five. Um, at first, because it's something I always wanted to do. Me and my husband, we always wanted a big family, and saying it out loud, people are like, "Yeah, that's a good thing. Have your kids, build your family." But now that they're here, where's the village? And that's where it becomes extremely exhausting for us on our end. Getting the support when they weren't physically here, and thinking like, yeah, we're going to have everybody behind us. Everybody's, because it's, not the norm on both sides of our families for us to be as married as long and to have as many kids as we have. Everyone else has kind of had, like one or two, or, is a single parent. So us being, married and then choosing to have the 5 kids or whatever, we were like, yeah, this, we're doing something different, breaking all of these generational curses. But then where's everybody? And now we feel like we're alone and we're by ourselves. And I wish it wasn't like that, but it's definitely something that it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's like, yeah, we're contributing to society and things like that, but it's like you want us to do that, but then don't want to offer the support on the other side.
Yeah, that was beautifully said. Beautifully said. And I'm in the middle of both of you guys. I have 3 kids, so I'm right there in the middle. So I understand the idea of being like one and done. Forget this. My oldest is going to be 10 soon, and my youngest is 1, and my middle child is 2. I have Irish twins, as they call them, and they're stair steppers. So there's a big gap between my oldest and my youngest. And when I had my oldest, I was convinced I was never having kids again, and I was one and done. And then I started over a new relationship, and kind of I was really hesitant at first because I felt a lot about Ro, like who's gonna take care of him? Like, no, I'm living my life. I'm content with where I am. But then sometimes you get with that special person that brings your guard down and makes you think like, wow, I do want to have a family with you. Like, wow, we share the same values. Like, let's go for it. Let's do it. And then you get there, and then like Krista said, it's ghost town. Where is everybody? And having a community really is the determining factor on a family's sustainability. I mean, I know people think it's finance and this and that, but truly it's community and mental health. Because that old saying, it takes a village, is so true. And the villages are so sparse nowadays because the community foundation is just not there, which is why, I'm glad we're having this conversation, because Spread Your Heart is known to advocate not only for community, but for mental health. And women are often labeled as being emotional, and whenever they display vulnerability, it comes back at us. We have to be the caretakers, the nurturers, the healers. We have to wear every single hat possible and still show up every day. What do you guys think? In your opinion, what's the difference in being independent and emotionally unavailable?
So I would say that I think personally, being independent versus being emotionally unavailable, I would say independent is like where you can do things on your own, whether it's financial, personal, and not really needing assistance in that aspect. But being emotionally unavailable is more like how I would look at it is maybe you've been hurt so much, or growing up you had a bunch of trauma and stuff like that. And like, for example, with starting a relationship, if you get into one, emotionally unavailable, it could be dangerous because you will then bring your trauma onto that future person or that next person that you are with. And a lot of people don't realize that they might be emotionally unavailable as well. To me, it's more like emotionally being strong no matter what the situation is. If whether you are or have gone through trauma, what are you doing to fix it, to get back to being emotionally available? And this is in friendships too. You might not have a strong enough emotional state to be able to be friends with a certain person because what they went through has coincided with what you went through, and it might be triggering for what you went through, and you realize that's not your emotional stability. So I feel like when it comes to the two, it's once more, you don't need assistance, and it's not necessarily, well, it is a mental state too, but like if you look at the first aspects of it, it's just doing things. But then with the mental behind it, it's the strong mental suite. Like, you are capable of holding monthly rent because that's, as a grown up, you need to do that, or you have no roof over your head. As we're emotionally unstable, you understand that you need to pay that monthly rent, but you're just like, I cannot, in my power, learn how to save this money to keep this roof over my head. And also, I went through this when I was younger. So, with this connection and this connection, I'm going to make sure that even though I know I need to pay this rent, I'm going to self sabotage myself without realizing it. because that's just what I'm used to.
Okay, I like that. I like that outtake, and I never thought about it like that. And I think sometimes as women, we not sometimes actually every time we sacrifice a lot. We always put ourselves last, and I never thought about it in the terms of self-sabotaging, but absolutely, we always put our family or the needs of our loved ones first, and it's instilled in us. Like we can't we can't help it. And sometimes these self sabotaging moments may create resentment inside of us, and that resentment may turn outward instead of inward, and it may create that emotional unavailability that we're talking about. Or maybe you're somebody that has really great coping skills, or you like have like the glass half full mentality, and things may not trigger you as much and you're able to handle it. And I think that might, for me, be my distinction between independent and emotionally unavailable, is being able to handle the obstacles of life and be there for others while also being there for yourself. Like, I don't think of independence in a monetary way. I think of it in a way of like you said, Ro, capability, what you're capable of inside and out. But yeah, that's a hot take right there. That was deep. What do you think, Krista? I was not expecting that.
Well, to me, independence kind of means you can stand on your own, but you still kind of allow that emotional closeness with people. Like you allow yourself, in those vulnerable moments, in the times that, it's hard for you to do things, or you're just having a hard moment in life, you still are open enough to be able to let people in. And when you're emotionally unavailable, you kind of avoid that emotional closeness. You push people away, even when it matters. And like Rose said, that's where that self sabotage comes in, because you possibly don't realize until it's too late that you've just, you know, kind of ruined everything. Now, when you come to that realization, now you have nobody. And it's really sad.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good. It is. It is. And a lot of women are suffering from that feeling of isolation or self-sabotage. And like we mentioned, Spread Your Heart being a woman-owned business, we're really just starting to break through that ceiling of the industry. And as an entrepreneur, a momaneur, two solopreneurs, sometimes it's hard to set realistic expectations and bridge that gap between like our dreams and reality. So I think when we talk about self sabotage, that can really fall in our career path or our lifestyle, right? Think about the lifestyle you may have if you did not have kids or a family. And a lot of women, like I said, start building that resentment because they battle internally with the thought of the life I could have had if I didn't have kids, or where I could have been and all of that, or I could have like had it all, or I could have been so much further. But I think having it all is subjective, right? Like exactly on what a person wants or the lifestyle that they want to live. And that doesn't necessarily mean that because they had kids, they're not able to have that same lifestyle or have it all, quote unquote. So, in your opinion, panel, what does it mean to you to have it all? Like, what do you even want? What do we want? Y'all know men always say we don't know what we want. What do we want?
Well, for me, having it all is honestly just a peace of mind. And I used to think, it was like, have the big house and, be financially stable and, like my kids are good and this, that, and the third. But I realized that life comes with so many ebbs and flows. And I recently just came to this realization with losing my dad in August. Um, my whole outlook on life changed. I was like, yeah, we got to push for this and push for that. Now I'm just like, you know what? Life is so unpredictable and life is always going to throw something at you, that I'd rather know that I'm mentally okay and can have peace of mind to be able to deal with it. And that's what having it all would, mean for me, because I could have all those things and still be miserable. I could have not quite as much, but be the happiest person in the world. So now my goal is just peace of mind and, being internally okay. So that's what that means for me.
Yes, I like that. Very well said. What do you think, Ro? What does it mean to you to have it all, or, you know, be at peace and be complete? What do you want?
You know, I also agree with Krista. I believe that um, being mentally okay, the peace of mind, but also I know something I personally want is to make sure, like I said, I only have one right now. So my son, for him to be set up in a better situation than I was ever set up in, and not downing my peers or anything, but I just wish that I had a little more growing up. So in the fact of like making sure he's better than I am, he's more stable than I am, and he has a lot more going on.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I love that. And actually, I'm thinking about the discussion we're having about growing up. That's really resonating with me. And Chrissy mentioned losing your dad recently, which I'm really sorry to hear that. I totally feel for you because I lost my grandmother March of last year. So I just made my 1 year mark, and we start coming to that realization that the things we once knew and loved are starting to go away, right? People don't last forever, moments don't last forever, things don't last forever. And maybe we're starting to outgrow things and people and situations. And maybe we grieve the loss of our loved ones or the person we once were. And that can definitely play into how connected we are into our relationships, into our parenting, or into ourself, right? So um the conversation is really just navigating naturally towards who we once were and who we are outgrowing. The women we were to survive, the woman we were meant to be, and who we were be loved by, the women we were because we didn't know we had options at that time. Now we know better. Now we know we have options, right? And in the real world, it's not about that glow up, because in our early 20s, we talked about glowing up, right? We talked about we're in our 20s, we glowed up, we glued up from high school, but this isn't the glow up. We are becoming women, we're becoming individuals, and we're starting to learn about ourselves and our purpose through these life experiences. So my question for you, panel, is who were you before you knew you were allowed to even choose differently? Before you knew you had a choice, who were you?
I was a very scared and timid girl. I was the quiet one. Never really wanted to get in the way. And as I grew up, I realized that was not serving me. And I feel when I realized that, um, things started to pick up. Life started to look a little different because I was opening up my mouth. I was standing up for myself. And by doing that, I was, starting to get things I didn't think that I would ever have. And my confidence, slowly and slowly built over time. And at this point in time, with being 34, I could say I'm proud of myself, and I couldn't imagine if I would have never kind of broke down that barrier of being the shy girl, like where I would be. So that's who that's who I was.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I like that. And question, I know it's a little off, but would you say that you discovered yourself through going on this journey on your own, or was it this of becoming through having kids in the family that helped mold who you are, or was there a certain situation that was like an instant trigger or change for you?
Honestly, it was my husband. He kind of sat me down one day and was like, "Look, I'm gonna need for you to put your big girl drawers on." That's what he said. And I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "I'm sick of watching you get walked over. I'm tired of you being nice to people who aren't nice to you. And, by him sitting there and being on the outside looking in and hearing it from somebody else, things that I was kind of already feeling internally, it kind of clicked like, okay, it's actually happening. Because, in my brain, sometimes we, talk to ourselves crazy or whatever, or, we may not fully believe everything that's going on in our brains. And I guess I must have been thinking the complete opposite. And then when he said something to me, that's when I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to start, you know, fixing some things. And yeah, because I was working in corporate when he had this conversation with me. And working in corporate can be pretty ruthless. You have to be very confident and very kind of up on your game. And there was certain things that I should have been getting, and awards I should have won, and I was just like, oh, it's okay, maybe next time. And I guess he got tired of hearing that one too many times, and was like, no, I'm need for you to put a little pep in your step. And I've just been different ever since.
Yes, I love that. I love that. It sounds like you found somebody that came through and saw that light that was buried in you, and we need that. We need the people that see us and believe in us to really just keep that fuel going. I love that. That's beautiful. Yes, yes. Okay, but what about you, Ro? What about you, Ro? Who were you before Spread Your Heart? And I know this is kind of hard to ask this question because I've known you since we were kids, but personally, like internally, from yourself, who were you?
So, so to answer that, I would have to say, and just, I really believe that you're always molding yourself into who you are going to end up being. So I guess from the beginning, I would say, the goody two shoes, always thinking well, no negative thoughts. That's who I originally began with. And, no one's perfect. I feel like we all have demons in our closet. And so obviously, we grow up, we start living our lives, we start dating, we start doing these things. So you learn things that people teach you and you didn't necessarily know that before. And you're like, well, I want to try it. And it's not that it's bad, but it's definitely not something you would have normally done because in that stage you weren't there. And that's how I feel. Like, the goody two shoes girl got introduced to, oh, we could stay out past 9 o'clock and it's okay. Just little things like that. And they start creating a new person. Now, I would always generally say that I would always pretty much stay on I guess topic with myself. I always wanted to do or be the good person, like do good things and be the good person. So no matter how far I strayed on that, I always ended up coming back to my original um internal self. And it's like I still grow, I spiritually, emotionally, mentally, um and there's different versions of me, but I still want to be, at the end of the day, my main goal while I grow is to be that good person, you know. Um Never a perfect person because we all make mistakes, but always be a good person. So even if I wasn't a good person one day, I was kind of mean to somebody and I didn't really feel like they deserved it, but I was just, they caught me at the wrong time. The next day, if I know them personally, I'll be like, hey, I'm sorry. I was having a bad day. That was wrong how I treated you. If I didn't know them, then, just me personally, I'm going to, send out positive vibes to that person and hope that that person has a better day, especially than the way I treated them, or send up a little prayer like, I'm sorry, I should not have done that. Um, and not saying that they'll hear it, but it'll make me feel better to know that I tried to change what I did yesterday, even though I can't change it, but I knew I shouldn't have done it. So it's like, for me, it's like, dang, I corrected my attitude. It might have been a little too late, but next time I'll know better than to just be short tempered with somebody, because you never know what kind of day they're having as well. And I feel like, you know, um, in a sense too, and going back to what Krista said, this was a little off here. Sorry guys, but Krista, when you said that your husband sat you down, that resonates with me because I tell China all the time. It's like she took my past self of being so sweet and genuine. And not that I'm not anymore, but I told her it's okay to be a little mean. And not mean in the way I was to that person, but mean of like, it's okay to say no. If you don't want to do something, it is more than okay to say no, but you are still being a good person. You're just not going to take that. You're not going to be somebody's doormat. You know that this person asked you 30 times in a row for something, and you've asked them not to ask you that before, and they still do it. It's okay to say no, and it's not your fault that they asked you 30 times, but it would be your fault if you allowed them to keep harassing you in a sense of, well, I'm going to keep asking you until you tell me yes, but you are so firm on that no, and it's okay because that's how you feel. And it saves your feelings at the end of the day. But you're still a good person because guess what? You're still going to go out and donate this to this person. You whatever you live by, that you're being a good person, that everybody else is also a good person in a sense. That's the best that we can do. So
Bro, it's so funny. We did have this conversation. You're right. We really did have this conversation about being too nice or getting taken advantage of. And ironically enough, you guys, that I don't think that was me personally. The person that I was prior to Spread Your Heart, prior to all of this, the younger, naive version of me that did not experience anything yet, I wasn't nice. I was obnoxious, sassy, I was a ticking time bomb. I had anger issues and I had no filter. Like I just didn't care. I did not care. I never really struggled with confidence too much. As far as like being insecure or shy, it was the opposite. I actually did not know when to not speak. And I had to learn how to not always speak because it got me into a lot of situations. And then I went through a traumatic loss in 2020 where I lost my son um, to medical conditions that were completely unexpected. It changed my outlook on always needing to speak or be involved in something or insert myself in something. It brought me all the way back and it truly humbled me. And it made me be more of an observer. I think that's the moment where everything switched for me and I became more of an observer. That's the point where I started listening more and talking less. And maybe I toned it back a little bit too much. Yes, where it turned me a little bit too nice, but I started realizing how short life really is and how life really isn't promised to anybody. I mean, my son passed away at 2 months old. He didn't even get the chance to see his first birthday. And here I am turning 30 in May, and I just want I realized how precious life was, and I didn't want to spend it being angry. And I also wanted to change the way people looked at me because people started, I started getting feedback from people, and I'm like, what? That was me? Even to this day, people that knew me when I was younger would tell me about myself, and I'm like, what? Me? I don't remember that. I blocked that so deep into my brain because I want to make a change. And I mean, I'm not out here chasing change by trying to save everybody's life thinking that's going to save me in the end, pearly gates, when it's my time to go. But I know it's never too late to say, okay, I love myself. And how can I also have show people how to love themselves as well? Or how can I share that same love with the next person so no one will ever again look at me in this way that was that they feel belittled or that I felt entitled or any of those things, because that wasn't it. So life humbled me really quickly in one instant. It was almost like an overnight change. I mean, obviously nothing's overnight, but when that situation happened, it was like a switch, and I had no one there beside me. No one there, right? All those people that I knew, I was popular, socialite, always in the mix. But then when that situation happened with my son, no one was there. And when I say that, I mean, people were there offering their support via phone, but I lived far away at the time, and it was a thing where I was completely by myself physically. It was isolating. And when you go through that, you start realizing like, wow, I never want anybody to feel the same things that I feel. So it transforms you. So no matter whether it's a particular situation, no matter if it's a particular person, no matter if it was a group of people, maybe some friends, there's some point in our life where we realize we had to change, we had to grow, we had to mature, whether it be for ourselves or for somebody else. Maybe we had kids at an early age and it transformed us and started making us think, yeah, this is that moment. Regardless, we are who we are today, and it's brought us to something better. And it has all led us individually to this very moment in this exact room from all different locations of the world, right? Odessa's in Cleveland, I'm in Tampa, and Krista's in Fort Tom, and also in Florida in a different Fort Walton Beach. There we go. There's so many beaches in Florida. I'm still learning. But the point is that we're all over the place and we're able to come together and connect on the things that we may be battling with, or the things that maybe there's nothing that we are battling with, but we want to share our growth. And that's what it's all about. That's why I love the fact that we have this platform. I love the fact that you ladies came on with us today and was vulnerable and was able to share about what it is that you are dealing with now and who you were once then. And I'm very honored to be here with both of you today to see this new version of growth and where we are. And together we're going to grow Spread Your Heart, the Spread the Space platform, the Spread the Space podcast, and encourage other people to come on and be vulnerable and let them know it's okay. Like, it's all right. We're people and we're going through these things. So yeah, that was my final little tidbits as we close this out. I did want to give my panel their time to say their final piece just about mental health, being the awesome woman that they are, spread your heart, whatever the case may be. Rodessa, go ahead. What are your final thoughts on our discussion?
I think this was a great discussion. I think not enough people talk about things like this. And when they do, it's more on a personal or quiet level. Like you said, you have to be vulnerable. A lot of people don't know how to do that. And it's not neglecting their feelings in any way. It's maybe if they see other people being vulnerable, whether it's personal or out loud or to the world or anything, maybe in the future they'll learn how to be vulnerable and know that it's okay to be vulnerable sometimes. But also remember who you're being vulnerable with and if you're comfortable enough. Like me personally, I'm okay being vulnerable here because I know that when people hear this, they're going to hear the message that's being sent. They're not going to, it's not like I'm telling a friend personally and I know that they're going to hurt me later on down the road. Just people need to also know when to be vulnerable. But I would love people to know that it's okay to be. Depending on the situation and stuff, because that is just as important. Vulnerability helps with the mental as much as it can help with the physical. Remember, the physical and the mental, they're connected. Even if they don't seem like they are, it is. Days that you have a headache, you ever notice sometimes you just want to lay down and it's like, that's a physical thing, but it can bring a mental toll on you. Like you start feeling fatigued, you're tired, you need to lay down. You might be dizzy and like feel euphoric or something like that, and you're just like, I don't feel good. But that's in both ways because it's it's a partnership. That's the word I'm looking for. When it comes to mental and physical, it's a partnership, and that could be spiritual too.
Yes, nice, very beautiful. It is a partnership, you guys. It is. It is a partnership. I love that. What about you, Krista? What are your thoughts on the discussion we had tonight?
So I'm glad we're definitely opening up and having this conversation. And with that, my biggest kind of giveaway would be for us as women to stop thinking that we're too much. I know that's kind of how we've been painted to be, dramatic, always have something to say, always talking back, this, that, and the third. And to realize, piggybacking off of what Rose said, that, that does mess with you physically. And when you realize that you're not too much, you'll be able to open up, find that group of people, open up, speak on your troubles. Because when you hold all of that in, one day you'll blow up, and it may not be pretty. And so I urge women to practice that. Find your group of people, even if you have to make it cheesy, and set up a time once or twice a month, and just talk about your feelings. Harboring those things, it's not healthy. Stress kills. And yeah, let's kind of remove that narrative that we're feisty, and all of that. I don't roll with that. I like to think we're enthusiastic and bright and open. And it's not fair to call us those things because you can't handle what we have to say. So find your people, talk about it, and treat yourself good.
Very well said. I absolutely loved that. And if anything that we've said tonight resonated with you, if you're listening to this playback and you're like, wow, I'm going through all of those things. I'm a mom, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a this, I'm a that. I really, really encourage you to follow the platform, follow the Spread the Space Network. You can find the Spread the Space on YouTube, typed out just as that, the Spread the Space Network. Follow the Spread Your Heart movement. We are all for mental health. We are all for providing a community where you can be heard and seen and feel like a regular person, not somebody that's just trying to fake it for views, or be a part of some crowd, or limit yourself because of what people may say. That's not what it's about. Follow Spread Your Heart. Support the movement. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all those awesome platforms at the Spread Your Heart organization, just like that. Visit our website. We have a very, very nice website where you can learn more about us, find all of our content, read some of our blogs. And when we say a platform built by the community for the community, we truly mean that, because all of the content, all of the operations that you are witnessing today is done by our beautiful volunteers. So go check out our website, thespreadyourheartorganization.org. And if you would like to come on and speak with Rodessa and I and be our next guest for the next show, come on, talk about whatever it is that you're feeling, just tune into the show. Email us, DM us, however you want to contact us. We'll be here. Other than that, I really want to thank our lovely guest, Krista, for coming on tonight. You can find more of Krista on the Spread Your Heart team. And we will be back for the next episode, you guys. You're not going to want to miss it. Right now, we're talking about Women's History Month, but next time, we're probably talking about music, or maybe we're talking about planting trees, or maybe we're talking about creating art. You never know. You can get something new at Spread the Space. So tune in, like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you next time. Bye.